Welcome to the webinar. We're going to go ahead and get started. Our topic today is ModelPort and the new AI integration with the 3D model generator. My name is Tom Simmons. I am the Business Director and BIM Consultant here at ArchVista. We're going to review a number of topics. We're going to start with using AI to create 3D models, and we've got a number of topics we'll cover, including benefits for architecture and interior design, this connection to Meshy AI, how to create a Meshy account, how to generate a 3D model from a text prompt and an image, how to understanding the polygon size in Archicad, as well as setting polygons for an AI generated model. We'll then get into how you edit and manage an AI generated model, including updating the model using image to texture, refreshing a model to reduce the polygon count, customizing the 2D symbol of a 3D import, and refining the polygon count and editing the AI generated texture. We'll then discuss some updates and improvements, as well as for those of you who may be new to ModelPort, we'll also discuss some of the basic features for working with imported models. And then we'll conclude by talking about license options and getting started. And finally, we'll have questions and answers. If you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and enter those in. Here's how you do that. You're going to go up to the questions panel or option at the top right of GoToWebinar. And then at the bottom of that panel is the area where you can submit a question. So feel free to go ahead and submit that question at any point during the presentation, and I will take that question at the end of our webinar. So let's start with the first topic, which is using AI to create 3D models. Now, there are a lot of benefits of AI for architecture, interiors, and landscaping. With regards to creating 3D models from AI, one of those benefits is integrating detailed elements that are not available as 3D models. So this stool is a perfect example, right? This is, you possibly might use for some historic hotel or historic bar or something where they really wanted some, really ornate type of furnishings there. And this is typically not what you would see as available in the Archicad library. And so what you can do is you can actually take this image and you can bring this into ModelPort now, and then it will automatically generate a 3D model based upon that image. We could also do the same thing for lighting. This is a good example for an Art Deco lighting. So if you're, again, working on a historic project, maybe you've gone out and taken pictures of the site and the building and some of the fixtures they have there and the details, and you want to bring some of those details back and generate those into 3D model components so that you don't have to build them all. This is a great way of doing it. This is an example from a manufacturer who does make this, these lighting fixtures. So of course you can go to the website as well and bring that image into ModelPort and automatically generate that light fixture. Another important use of AI is being able to go to a manufacturer website, and if they have, which a lot of them do now, the ability to configure the product with its different materials, you can actually take that configured product into ModelPort now and create a 3D model from that. So this is a really good example from this Gazelle Bianco, which I'll show you in a moment how you do this, but where you can actually go in and configure the materials and then bring that into Archicad. And of course, decorative decor is always important for giving life to your interiors, right? So obviously Archicad has some decor within it, but there's a lot more out there that generally is needed. And one of the things you can do now is you can actually use this to bring in decor from, in this case, from a Miller or wherever you want to go to. So if you are working with a client who has certain types of elements they would like to see in their home or in the project, and you want to bring those kinds of elements into there, then you can go to a manufacturer website or to a retail store website, and you can grab that image and bring that right into ModelPort, and it will generate a 3D model from that. And of course, plants are always a great way to give life to an interior design as well. This is a plant from All Modern. It's a faux Draconia tree. And as you can see here, this plant can be brought into ModelPort as a image, and then the image will be generated into a 3D model. And so this is a great way to again, bring life. Obviously, Archicad does have some plants as defaults in it, but does not have these kind of details. So this gives you more options to be able to give life to your interiors and to be able to bring the kind of decor into your interiors that you would like to see. And for outdoor plants, this is also an option. As we all know, outdoor plants can really, if you've ever used other trees and plants and so forth, and brought those into Archicad, they can slow down Archicad's performance if they're very heavy plants and trees. But one of the things that we can do here is we can bring these plants in, we can control those polygon counts, as I'll show you in a second, and then use them in our 3D rendering. So this is kind of showing an example here where we have an ornamental grass plant, and we want to be able to bring that into ModelPort to be able to use for landscaping. But we don't want to have it so high quality that it bogs down Archicad. So if we bring that quality down a little bit, but maintain the intent of the plant to be able to show this, what you can see here on the right is in the rendering gives the intention of what we want this plant to kind of show, with those beautiful kind of, brownish flowers on the edges of it, with the green plant rendered in it. And it gives that kind of character of what we're seeing on this ornamental grass on the right, excuse me, on the left, without the high polygon count that we might be if we had as much more detailed. Okay, so how do we get all this into ModelPort and into Archicad? Well, what we've done is we've integrated a connection between Meshy AI and ModelPort. So Meshy AI, if you don't know what that is, Meshy is the top overall platform for generating and using text prompts and images to create 3D models. And so we have a partnership with them now where we've integrated their API connection between their solution into ModelPort. And so this is selected by when you open the AI generator in ModelPort. You can then select the Meshy option there, and then it will select the Meshy 6, which is the most recent one. And then you can also have other options, which we'll go through as well. Now, the first step in order to get that connection is to create a Meshy account. And so you'll have to go to meshy.ai. You'll create either a Pro or Studio account. The Pro account is for individuals, which is probably what most of you will create. And the Studio account is for teams. So if you are an office and you want to have an account shared by your entire staff, and you've got a certain amount of points that you want, or credits that the way they work, that you want to be able to share amongst your team, you can do that as well. So really it's dependent upon what is going to be best for your team and you as an individual. Once you set your account up, you would then go to the API menu. And the API menu, you're going to, once you click that, you'll see the option down there to create an API key. And when you click that, the Create API Key dialog will appear, and you'll click Copy. That will copy that API key, and then you will be able to go to ModelPort as step 2, or go to Archicad. And in Archicad, you're going to select the ModelPort menu. In the ModelPort menu, you'll now see a new option. It's called Import from AI. And when you first launch that or first select it, it's going to ask you for your API key. You'll then paste your API key into that, go OK, and you're ready to go. What it will then show in the AI generator, as you can kind of see there, is your current credits. What those credits are. In this case, it was 815 that I have there, but it could be several thousand, whatever it is that you selected and in your account that you set up. So how does it work? Well, the first step we're going to do is look at using a text prompt to create and generate a 3D model. So with this, we're going to click the Text to 3D tab in our AI generator. and then we're going to type in a text prompt. In this case, we're going to type in create a 3D model of a 6-foot tall bird nest palm plant with green leaves in a square polyester white metal planter. And then we're going to click the Generate New button. When we do that, it's going to go through the process of processing the model. And then it's going to bring up in the AI generator a black background view of that image or of that 3D model that it just created. Now this is being generated by Meshy on the back end. And what Meshy does whenever it generates a 3D model is it always generates that model on a black background. Once you see that appear within your AI generator, you double click that, and it's going to bring up the your name dialog. This is going to enable you to now type in the name. So in this case, I would give it bird nest palm plant as the name for this object that the AI created, and go OK. At that point, it will appear in ModelPort. So this is the beautiful thing. Now, rather than you having to go outside to other applications and then work on that and then bring that into ModelPort or bring that into Archicad, you can now do this all directly within ModelPort. So now I've got this new AI object. It was generated through this process and now is available as a ModelPort object. Now let's look at the second way to do this. This is to generate a 3D model from an image. So what was the sort of steps for this? Well, first, what you could do is you can go to a manufacturer or to a retail store website, and you can find an image of a product that you want to create. In this case, we're going to use a Sylvan bar stool as an example for creating this model. And so you would go to the Room and Board website, which is basically a retail website. It has a lot of different manufacturers' products on there for different furniture and lights, etc. And you would find the image that you want, and you would then add that image into our AI generator here, and then you would generate the 3D model. So here's how it works. So just kind of give you a sort of workflow. So on the right here is our website from Room and Board. So we're going to go ahead in Room and Board, and we're going to go ahead and click and right-click on the image and select Copy Image Address. We're then to go to ModelPort, Import from AI, and click Image URL and paste that in there. Now that it's in there, you can see that in our AI generator, we have that URL link that we've now put into that. And now we're going to click Generate New. And it's going to start to generate that object. And once that object is generated, we're going to need to type in the name for that object. In this case, we'll put in Sylvan stool, Sylvan bar stool, and then it'll come directly into ModelPort, at which point you can begin to work with this. Now, one of the things I want you to notice here is that this bar stool, if we look down to the bottom left of this bar stool, it says trinum visible. That's basically the number of triangles, 10,167. That means it's a very low polygon count bar stool. And that's what we want. But I want to give you a little bit of a understanding of how this works. Make sure that you don't make mistakes on going too high of a polygon count. So high polygon models are not good for BIM. That's a basic understood fact. So it's best to keep these polygon counts low in order for them to work well with your Archicad BIM model and not bog it down with this performance. So in regards to that, what I'm going to take you through here in a second is how you do that. But just to kind of look at this bar stool on high polygon one on the left and low polygon one on the right. And just looking at this, actually they don't look a whole lot different. They're pretty similar. Actually look like they would work well. The 2D symbols even look pretty similar. So in all, you really don't need that 449,000, polygon model here on the left. You really need that 10,167 polygon on the right. And that's really what you want to do. You want to keep these polygons low for these models. And this is really key when you're working with AI within a BIM model. So how do you do that? Well, first off, what you need to understand is that when you work with the AI generator within ModelPort, is that it will come up automatically with a default with the maximum triangle number checked off. And that's just the way that Meshy does that. They want that checked off to give you the maximum opportunity for generate a model in terms of the quality of the model, and then you generate, and then you select, and then define what you want for that model in terms of the polygon count. So if you do not check that maximum triangle number, which is the default, you're going to get a high polygon model. So as a good example, this is an Adeline accent chair. We just ran this with it unchecked, and it gave us a 514,000 polygon model. So a very high polygons count on this particular chair, which is really not a good use for BIM, right? We need to have that a lot lower in order for it to be useful in our models. The way we do that is by checking that maximum triangle number, putting 10,000 in there as an example to keep that low and keep the quality good. And that still looks very similar to that 500,000 polygon model we just looked at previously. And so now we've got a model that is going to work really well for our process. So now let's ask the question of how big should we make these polygon counts? So let's take a look at Archicad. The Archicad library has a lot of objects in it. And so we took a look at those objects and looked at the kind of objects that might be pertinent or specific to this purpose. Things like a chair, this designer chair here on the left, which is 4,550 polygons. Or this blanket, kind of another thing we might use as a decor and interior, which is 10,000 polygons. Or maybe as an exterior rendering, we want to have a car in there. Well, that's going to be 18,000 polygons. Or clothes hangers. Maybe we want to add that to a closet because we're going to have an exposed closet and we want to see those in there. Well, that can go anywhere from 4,500 up to 50,000 polygons, depending upon how many clothes that we have. Just one shirt in there is, or a dress or anything, it's going to show us 4,500. So these are the kind of range of polygons that just in Archicad's library for sort of interiors as well as exterior pieces that we might see. Now, there are a lot of other objects within Archicad that are a lot less, but I want to look at sort of these because these are kind of objects that we might be thinking of. So in regards to that, we recommend, kind of keeping the target of 5,000 to 30,000 polygons. So why 5,000, why 30,000? Well, 5,000 is kind of the least amount, I think, polygons you want to go to. Below that, it starts to get a little bit, the quality starts to fall off pretty dramatically. And then Meshy recommends 30,000 polygons as kind of a good quality starting point for theirs. So I think somewhere in between there works well. And so the testing we've done with a lot of these objects, you can kind of see here, the star clock here that we were starburst clock is 4,537 polygons. So this is a very small polygon model here for this little clock. And then the these deer sculpture here that a manufacturer produces or an artist produces is 8,452 polygons. Now, of course, we could make that even higher and even higher quality, but probably that looking at this is probably all we need. This plant, which is a pretty good quality looking plant here, is 10,238 polygons, so I think that would work okay. And of course, that bar stool, the detailed one we looked at originally, was 30,000 polygons. So those seem to work pretty well. And even the bar stool could keep it to come down further, as I'll show you in a second. Now, can you exceed that maximum? Of course. You can always exceed that maximum. But just be aware that polygon count in BIM is really, really important. And it can really have performance issues if these models that you keep adding to it are really large. So we want to keep these BIM, these AI-generated models for BIM as a small polygon count. So just kind of keep that in your mind. And you now have the tools within ModelPort to do that and on the fly to be able to change that, as I'll show you in a second. So how do we edit and manage the AI model? Let's talk about that next. Well, you remember I remember earlier I talked about this chair. So On the left here is the chair with another color scheme from what we looked at the start of the presentation. We now have a sort of beigey look for the upholstery. We have a darker, redder, browner wood for the structure of the chair. And so, we can go to a manufacturer's website, such as this one from Sasago, to be able to, go and be able to define the materials for this particular piece of furniture that we want. Once we have that, we can bring that into Archicad, right, to create the object. Now, the blue one, the chair up here of the upper right, is the one we created originally. And this particular chair, you can see, it looks great, but we decided that we don't want that color scheme for it. We want the other material color scheme over here, but we've already generated this object. So can we just simply refine that object? And the answer is yes. So once you've created an AI object in ModelPort now, we can continue to refine that object. So here's a good example. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and click the Refine with AI button. It's then going to bring up my ModelPort AI generator dialog again. And within that AI generator dialog, there's an option there, the button called Image to Texture. Now, what this allows me to do is to select a new image that I want to create as a texture. Now, the way that AI works is whenever it generates a 3D model, it also generates a texture for that 3D model for all the different materials. So it's one texture for all the materials. It's not like separate ones for it. So you have to regenerate the texture for that 3D model. And so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and select that new texture or that new image of which is the new configuration over here. And then we're going to click the Refine Model button for Image to Texture. When we do that, it's now going to create a new, it's going to take the existing model that we had, and it's going to refine it with the new texture. So with the new colors, new materials for this model. So we didn't create a new 3D model, we simply redefined this one. So again, you could create a new one, or you could redefine the existing model you have with a new texture. And this is a great way, again, of being able to bring in, if you're working with a client and they decide to change the color scheme or material, whatever, of an AI generated model that you did previously, you can simply bring in a new image and then update that model with that new image. You also have the ability to remesh a model to reduce the polygon count as well. So if we go back to that detailed bar stool that we had at the beginning, you'll see that bar stool was 30,161 polygons. So it's a pretty large model. It's not huge, but we could bring that down maybe to 10,000 polygons. And all that depends upon whether or not we need all the level of detail. So as we bring that down, some of the detail refinement of some of those details in there might get a little bit less. But let's see how that works. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next step here. We're going to go down and click the Refine with AI, and we're going to click Remesh. And when we click Remesh, we have the ability now to reduce those triangles or polygons within that model. And so now we could, it's going to come up with the default of 10,000. We could change that to 20,000. We could change it to 5,000, whatever you want to do. But this allows you to now refine that model and reduce that polygon count from the original that it was created with. So the nice thing is if you go to Meshy and you create a model that is a higher polygon count, you can always take that and refine it down using this option here. And the way that Meshy works is it's less credits for you to remesh it down than it is to create a whole new model. So it's sometimes better to create a higher quality model first, and then simply use a remesh tool to bring that down. So here we're going to go ahead and bring that down to 10,000. We'll click the Refine button, and now it's going to process that. And you'll see now that we're going to click that Image to Texture option. And so we're now going to click and bring in a new texture and then refine, remap that texture to this new model. And we need to do that because this model is now a lower polygon count, which means we can't use the original texture, because the original texture was created for a much larger polygon count, so it wouldn't be able to map properly to this lower polygon count model. So we need to remap that texture as well, and that's why we use this image file and image to texture option. So now we've remapped that, and you can see that that is now the new option there. And so now we'll click that option and open that up into ModelPort, and you can see that it looks still pretty good, pretty similar to the other one. If you were to look at the two side by side, you see a little bit of detail, a little bit less in this one than the other one, but still overall looks pretty good. It might be appropriate for what you need, since you might not be right next to these elements. You might be in the distance. So again, it's really a matter of how much detail you need. As Meshy kind of put it in some of the reading, some of the stuff that I read, was if you have a hero shot, as they kind of call it, right, where you're going to be right next to a certain piece of furniture or a certain sculpture in the room, whatever it might be, then you may want that to be high quality so that it gives that level of detail. But if the elements are going to be in the distance, then you don't need that level of quality, because they're not going to have the level of detail, or you're not going to be right next to them, so you're not going to see that level of detail. So really just depends upon how you're using the objects in your renderings and your visualization. Now you can also use the detail level option in ModelPort to control the polygons and decrease the number of triangles as well. Now the detail level is up here. We kind of take a look at this, the detail level MP ModelPort up here. You can see there's 3 different levels of detail, from very high level to the lowest level and the mid level. And by selecting the detail level, you'll see it brings the polygon reduction down. So you can see that first off, our bar here came down from its original higher level of polygons, and it came down to 32%. So that means that we reduced it by 68% on there, and so that's pretty good. So we reduced it down quite a bit in terms of the polygon count to 16,787 for this one, and we can go even further with that. So we can now take it poly reduced and continue to reduce that further. And then once we're done with that, by using our decimation steps, we can reduce that further and further down. And it's just going to depend upon, the quality, again, that you want within ModelPort here. And you can use those detail level options and then link that to Archicad, as we've shown examples in the past, where we can link the detail level to the view settings in Archicad, so you can have one view with the detail level with a high polygon count and another view with the detail level with a lower polygon count. And there we go. And you can see here, if you look at this, it's a little, again, that we can see a little bit of the level of detail, a little bit less here, but it's still pretty close to what it was before in terms of the polygon count. Now, another new feature we've added, we've been requested by our users for quite a while now, is to be able to edit the 2D symbol of the objects. So if we look at the right here, there's 2 examples here. One is room and board that I started with originally, and the AI generated objects will tend to create kind of messy symbols when you bring those into Archicad and into ModelPort. The other is where you brought it into ModelPort, and it's done its job of cleaning up the symbol pretty well, like the 3D warehouse light you can see down below there. But you see those little fins that it's showing kind of in the middle of the light there, that are really kind of small and tight. And whenever if you were using it as a symbol, it probably appears a blob in there. So you really want it just to be a simple floor plan symbol, as you can kind of see there at the bottom. So this ability now for us to be able to customize the 2D symbol within our objects here and have those within ModelPort is what we've done as well in this new release. So what we're going to do is show you how to edit and customize that symbol, as you can see there in the bottom left of our ModelPort interface. That's what's auto-generated by ModelPort, and we're going to show you the steps to that. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to select that object in the floor plan, and we're going to open that object using the standard open object into the and click the 2D symbol within the library editor. And this is Archicad's standard library editor that you're seeing here. Now we basically dovetailed or linked the 2D editor within ModelPort, within Archicad to ModelPort, so that we can utilize this within our workflow. So here we're actually deleting a lot of those elements within our 2D symbol and getting to the point where it looks refined and looks like the 2D symbol we want to use. So once you've gotten that, and you can add line work, you can edit that and develop that further. Once you have that to the point that you like it, then what you're going to do is you're going to select that. Oh, I'm sorry, first you're going to save it. Got to save the library part first. And once you save that, you're then going to select it, open in ModelPort. And then what you'll see next is in ModelPort is that it looks like it didn't do anything to the symbol there, but that's because you need to preserve the 2D during update. This is the new option we just added in to this new release. What this does is it allows you now to go into the library editor for objects within Archicad's native environment and be able to then edit the 2D symbol in that particular environment. When you do that, you can now preserve that 2D information whenever you update. So in the past, I could do that, but when I click the update button, it would always go back to the original symbol here because it would override that. What we've done now is we actually have set this. If you click this now, it will basically override the 2D symbol that ModelPort creates. So this will be overridden now when you click this button, and it will now use the 2D symbol that you created in the Archicad 2D symbol editor. So that now allows you to now have ModelPort with a 2D symbol custom graphic and correct the issues you might have from a AI generated symbol where it's really messy, and also from symbols where it's cleaned up by ModelPort, but you still want to be able to customize that for a plan symbol so that it's not doesn't have as many pieces and components to it. And then you can also continue to edit these AI-generated textures. One of the things that, as I mentioned, is that these AI-generated textures are one texture. They're kind of one piece that kind of goes across the entire AI-generated object. And so, in this case, a good example, that bar stool that we were talking about earlier, the Sylvan bar stool, as you can see, it looks pretty good, but it's a little dark. So if we want to be able to edit this a little bit more, what we would do is to go into the materials. And so if we go down to our materials, we can go into and increase the ambient light. And you can see when we do that, it's going to increase the light to this object, and not to the light of everything, just the light to this object only. And so that makes it, when we do renderings and place it into our 3D model, it's going to look better and have better representation. And then we have a couple of additional updates and improvements to this new release. We also now support the GLB format. This is the graphics language transmission format, kind of the JPEG of 3D models, as a lot of people call this format. In essence, what it does is it's a faster loading, smaller file size, and a much more efficient rendering, particularly for AR, VR, and also 3D product viewing. Some manufacturers are using this on their websites now as well. We also update the SketchUp importer to the SketchUp 2026 format, which improves its performance, its AI integration, and also its enhanced materials for better visualization. And we have some teamwork improvements, and with fixes, we improved its ability to create, ModelPort's ability to create, or I should say it was unable to create or update the library part due to some teamwork restrictions previously. So there's an error message for this now that will indicate if there's an issue, so you know if there's a problem. And then also we fixed another teamwork mode, which was adding and linking new library folders could cause Archicad to convert the cloud library-based library folders in local folders. So we corrected those issues and improvements as well. All right, and then finally, for those of you who are new to ModelPort, let me also review some of the other features of ModelPort that we have built for many years now that gives you a lot of benefits for working with imported models. So looking at light, I was just showing you earlier, this 3D warehouse light, lug light factory. Whenever you merge a file into Archicad, typically, if you're using, say, a SketchUp type format, it's got a lot of curves, a lot of times it's going to look like this, where it comes in, it's got a lot of triangulation, and it can be shown in both in 2D and 3D, and it's just kind of distracting both from a 3D perspective and obviously not useful for your 2D symbol. What our ModelPort does is it cleans up these symbols really nicely for the most part, like you can see here, where it brings that in, opens it up, and gives you a nice clean 2D symbol to use, which is great. So you can utilize that. And then now with this new feature I just showed you, you can now take those fins out if you don't want them and be able to just show it even cleaner. One of the things about ModelPort that's also really important is it's a great editing tool. It's very fast to import models into ModelPort compared to Archicad's import process, as much as 90-95% faster. You can quickly review objects in this preview window before you import into Archicad. That's a really important thing because a lot of people will download objects from manufacturers and third-party websites, and they bring them into Archicad, and they discover they only need 10 or maybe 5 out of the 10 they downloaded, or 1 out of the 10 they downloaded. But now they've got all these objects kind of in their embedded library, and they will oftentimes forget about that. And so it basically allows you to preview and review those objects before you import them to Archicad. So that create button that you're seeing up there in the upper left is allows you to create the object. So if you download that and you decide I don't want it, well, you just close the ModelPort and it hasn't been brought into Archicad. You're just simply previewing the object, and so basically it won't be created until you, or won't be imported to Archicad until you click the create button. It also allows you to set the pin color and line weights. So in this example, as we look at the stove, if we click the stove itself, we can set that to a brown, or excuse me, a black pin. We can set the stove and oven to a red pin, and we can set the knobs as to a blue pin. And when we do that, it then updates we can click update, and it's going to update the model. And then in floor plan, we're going to see that it's been updated with the new pin and color scheme that we want, both in 2D and in 3D. We also have 2 methods for editing an object, by material or by object. So this object mode, as you're seeing here, object selection mode, when we do that, we can select elements by item list. So I can go run item lists like the body and the glass, etc. Or I can go into the 3D window or any of these windows, and I can interactively select elements of the model and be able to edit those as well. You can also set material. If I select the material, I can go in and be able to select those in the item list, so like the interior dark or interior or screen. And then I can go into the 3D window and I can begin to select the body or the tires or other elements of the model as well. And of course, you can also change textures of any elements. You simply right-click in the items list, and you can add a texture or change those textures as well. And it allows you to, outside of Archicad's ModelPort editor, to be able to more quickly and specifically edit textures. And you can also select and the materials from the Archicad material list as well. So you can select, go from the internal material editor to the Archicad material editor if you want to as well. You also have the ability to set and configure the material properties for texture, transparency, ambient, diffuse, shininess, and specular. So as an example, this couch shows, if we change the diffuse and the ambient and specular, we can improve the cushion, which had been set with odd settings here from the import. So we can change those and improve those settings as well by resetting the diffuse, ambient, and specular, and shininess and other settings within this. Oftentimes, when we open up third-party objects, this is from 3D Warehouse, we may see things in the objects we don't want. We could, if we brought those into Archicad directly, we could convert that into a morph and delete that and then resave that as an object. But then we're losing settings and changing things as we do that. Within ModelPort, what we can do is we can actually just turn it off. So if we decide we don't want this image that someone has put in here, well, we can go over to our items list. Oops. Go over to the items list here. Oh, I'll show you that in a second. Sorry, the next step is we go over the items list so we can turn that off. But before we do that, or when we do that, it will also, one of the other issues we have is that when we bring an image in like this, is it will create a preview like you see here, where in Archicad, the preview is the default picture icon, and it's just a simple icon, right? And ModelPort creates an auto-generated picture icon. And that's one of the problems, right? Because this image has been saved within this, so now we get this image not of the light as a preview, but actually of the rendering at the back side of the rendering. So the way we're going to do this, we're going to open up ModelPort, we're going to select that element, and we're going to turn it off. Once we do that, we simply update our information here, and we're going to update the view, and then update the object. And so our preview has been updated, and now when we close that and open up ModelPort, we're going to see that the preview now shows the preview of the light, not the preview of the rendering that was there before. And so that is another benefit to ModelPort, is that not only can you turn the elements off, but it also creates this preview for all of your objects and really makes it, as opposed to Archicad, which creates the default picture icon, so you've got to do a lot more steps to get that preview in there. And then, of course, you can scale object sizes with the editable preview. So when you're in the editable window, if you simply click any of the dimension elements, text, you can then open up it'll open up a rescale object dialog, at which time you can type in the new scale, and then you can refit the element to the preview. And then we can also rotate and move components. So when you're working with objects that are from external sources, they're not going to have parameters. So we've brought in some parameters to help you out with being able to move and rotate elements. So this Lego man here, I'm going to use as an example. So we're going to take the leg of this Lego, and we're going to move it forward using our Z. So we'll move it forward by 9, and then we're going to rotate it in a negative 30 degrees. So now, even though we don't have parameters specifically for the leg, we do have parameters in there that we can move something and we can rotate it as well. So it gives us that ability to be able to take an element like this and be able to move and rotate and be able to edit those elements as well. And finally, if you want to add light to an object that you brought in, that is an option as well now in ModelPort. You can bring an object in from a manufacturer, for example. You can convert that into into ModelPort as a light. And so what you want to do is take a 3D Warehouse, for example, you open that 3D model into ModelPort. And now we have the ability to be able to set that to a lamp subtype. So you basically right-click the name of the element you brought in. You'll see under the library object properties, there's an option there for subtype, and we can change it from an object to a lamp, so it shows up in our lamp settings that you can see down below there. And then once we've done that, we also have the ability to add information such as material and light. So here we want to add a light. So we're going to add a light to our items list here. And then we're going to reposition that light. So that light is now going to be repositioned using our X, Y, and Z. We can move it up and down as well as left and right. And then we can also, once we've done that, we select the light and we can begin to define the information for that light, such as what is its point, what kind of light type option is it? Point, directional, spot, or general? You can add the light parameters to define options such as color, shadow casting, radius, alpha, beta, the angle of fall off, the distance as well. And once you've set all those settings, you simply click update, and then that confirms the information for this light. And then you can use it for your renderings, whether that be in Cinema 4D, as you can see here, or this will also go out to other renderers externally, Inkscape, Twinmotion, etc., as a light, and will be recognized as a light in other programs as well. And then finally is, let's discuss licensing options and how to get started with ModelPort. If you're an individual, we have a standard license, which is for one computer. So that is designed for individuals who only need one computer and one license. So that's the starting level for ModelPort as a license. We have the Switch license, which has become very popular as of recent because this allows you to have two computers on it. So a good example is a home and office. Maybe you have your laptop and you want to be able to move ModelPort between your laptop and your office computer or vice versa. So this gives you the ability to utilize the flexibility of our floating license technology in a two-computer scenario where you have a home and office type of environment where you want to switch between two computers. And then finally is our floating license. This is the greatest and the flexibility for and the most popular for offices. This allows you, with offices with different locations, as well as team members, to be able to share licenses and move that between computers. And then we also have a viewer license. This is a free license. This is available for teams and consultants who do not have a license of ModelPort. Where this really helps out is, let's say, for example, that you have 10 people in your firm and you have 2 licenses of ModelPort. Well, you can have everybody have ModelPort on their computers with a viewer license. And then, when you open up ModelPort, it's going to be able to, on any computer, it will be able to have the advantages of ModelPort on all the computers, but only those who have a license are going to be able to edit it. So you could have a floating license that you move between different computers, and everybody also has a license on there so they can have access to it as well. And then when you're working with consultants, if you just send them the viewer license, they can also view all the objects and everything that you've put in there. And then you can also, within ModelPort, you can switch it to the GDL if you want to as well to utilize that. Now, how do you purchase it? Well, if you go to archvista.com/modelport/pricing, or you can scan there to get started, you can purchase our standard license, our floating license, and our switch license from there. We have, again, the standard license for one computer, floating license is for multiple users on multiple computers, and a switch license is for one user on 2 computers. If you are viewing this from another country and if you have a different language, we now support multiple languages in different markets. We now support English, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish. And it's really easy to change the languages. All you do once you install ModelPort is to go to ModelPort preferences and switch it to your language. It's also automatic. So as long as you're using Archicad in one of these languages, it will automatically switch that language for you. And finally, if you're ready to get started with ModelPort and give it a try, we welcome you to go to our trial download. To do that, you're going to go to archvista.com/modelport/trial. And you can see here where you can scan for the free trial as well. And there, the free trial has all features are activated. You can review imports, interactive preview, work with the editing tools, try the polygon, the file size optimization, save objects you import. So it's all great. And you can see there's some great quotes here from several of our clients. We get a lot of quotes on our website that kind of talks about or how our clients have used ModelPort. So I think you've probably seen a lot of the good benefits I've showed you today, from our new feature on AI to all their features, and many I didn't even get a chance to show you today that ModelPort can be useful for your Archicad workflow. So with that, I know I covered a lot today. Thank you, everybody, for taking your time to be here. This is our time for questions and answers. This is the information here. If you want to go to our website, simply go to that. And with that, if you do have questions, go ahead and feel free to go ahead and enter those into the control panel there that I talked about, the questions panel. And I'll go ahead and start to look at those. If you've not entered those yet, go ahead and enter those. If you have, I see there's a number of questions that are ready to go. So I'll go ahead and start taking a look at those questions and getting started with the Q&A.